This podcast is dedicated to sharing the practice of meditation, the philosophy of Western Buddhism, and the refuge and love of our TBC Sangha. Offering solutions that are simple, practical, and true. We believe happiness and better health are available to all people and for all people. We are here each week to lend wisdom and support to all who are making or considering making this journey. This is On the Range. Welcome, one and all, to episode number 8 of On the Range. I'm your host for this presentation, and as always, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy that you've chosen to join us for this effort. Tonight's co-host is Steph Watkins. She is here to add wisdom, perspective, and maybe even some levity. Welcome, Steph. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for making time to be on with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's start just with, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm new to TBC, and we just moved down here from Michigan to join this beautiful Sangha, this community of like-minded individuals. We were really missing out, on community. When we came through here last year, we just thought, wow, what a beautiful community. We'd really like to be a part of that. So
is that how you found TBC?
Yes.
I think it's so interesting that you guys made that commitment to say, okay, let's pack up our lives and come this way for the community.
Absolutely. I mean, it just kind of had a life of its own, honestly. It just picked up momentum after we came one Sunday. We were just passing through Kansas City, and we started tuning in. Once we got back home to Michigan, we started tuning in on Sundays, and then we started joining groups on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, and tuning in on Zoom, all the different groups you can tune into through TBC on Zoom. And wow, we just found ourselves falling in love with the individuals that were showing up on the Zoom,
Yeah. So that is so interesting, though, because a lot of people find TBC, or they find something like it. They find something that speaks to them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little bit different that somebody finds something so important, like I said, that they're willing to, that they understand that, hey, now is the time to, to make this. Because it's a commitment, right? It's a commitment to pack all your stuff up and move 1,200 miles. I don't care what the commitment's for. It is that. So
yeah, I think it really speaks to how important community is. Well, I don't think we really realized how important community was until we came through here and we felt like we were resonating with like-minded individuals, and we just thought, wow, we're really missing out being so far up north, and not having those kinds of like-minded individuals around us where we were. We lived out in the country, in northern Michigan. So I think it just really speaks volumes of how important, as we age, I guess, that we need community. We need individuals around us who can be there for us, whenever we have questions or going through something, or just kind of prop us up, whenever we're going through hard times.
Right.
So.
Right. It took me a while to figure out or to notice how important Sangha was, community was.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 3 jewels that we discussed.
Yes.
I would say that was probably the one that I knew the least about, and probably took for granted the most.
Yes.
Me too. Like you said, finding people that it's not even so much beliefs or dogma, or it's just, at least in my opinion, you get a group of people together that are all just trying to be genuine.
Yes.
And so then it's like, I don't have to worry about what you do, how you do it. I know that this is truly who you are right now. And so comfort, and you want to get to know those people.
Yes, absolutely, Whit. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's it. Exactly. I know that being in relationship with you, that you're going to take responsibility for your own heart and your mind and your emotions and your feelings. And I'm going to take responsibility for mine. because that's what we do in this practice. Is the responsibility is squarely in our own laps.
Right.
And I love that. I don't have to second guess my interaction with you, and you don't have to second guess your interaction with me, because you know that I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take it to the mat. I'm going to take it to my practice. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to look at it, and we have the tools to do that.
Right. And I love the fact that there's no rules or books or guidelines for this other than be that honest version of yourself. And we all agree and understand that, hey, that's a work in progress, but just do the best you can. And the more open you get, like the more comfortable you get with this Sangha of people that maybe you don't know anything else about them, but that's okay, because, the details will fill in themselves, but I can already, like you just said, I can already trust you. I already know that you're trying to evolve or discover this true. Yeah, you get rid of the ego, especially in a group like this, and it's so refreshing and it's fun, and it's serious in that it's life-changing, but it's not serious in that you have to worry or there's no right or wrong to it.
Exactly.
You can really step out.
Absolutely. We're encouraged to be our most authentic selves, because not because, but how freeing that is,
Right.
that I know that, I can just be me right now in this podcast, and you can be you, and we're going to be loved and cared for exactly as we are. And we're encouraged to do that more and more and more.
Right.
So, not killing the ego, although, we talked about killing the mockingbird today during our Dharma talk, but more like embracing, the nightingale, embracing our true selves more. And then that sort of conditioned self starts to fall away, and the authentic self comes forward more and more. And I'm so grateful that, like you said, I mean, Sangha, I took it for granted until now. I had the other parts, I had the Dharma and the Buddha, and I understood all of the teachings, the Eastern philosophy and everything, but I didn't really understand Sangha until now.
I didn't either. It was always one of those throwaway things.
Yeah.
That at, we're both TBC members, and that's where I learned a lot about Sangha in particular. One of those things. And really I get a better understanding for Western Buddhism, because I would not have used that term 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, me either.
It was just not even beyond me. I kind of understood what they were implying, but then as you practice and you get more in tune with the group, whatever that means, you start to realize that this is all happening in real time. And while we have teachers and we have, I guess that's also the leadership. I'm sure it is, but also there's room for people being authentic to step in and do things. And I always like to point out that if you want sacredness and holiness, you're going to have to bring that. That's you. That's not, we don't keep it in a magic box somewhere. We don't have, it's nothing. It's just us being real. And when you strip away everything else, what you end up with is holy and sacred.
Absolutely. So, that's beautifully said. Yes.
Well, but maybe we should just wrap up the podcast now.
Right. That's it. It's a wrap.
Thank you all. So you want to tell us just a little bit about maybe what your practice looks like now, maybe how you started or why you started, wherever you want to start on that?
Okay. Yeah. So why I started, I think it was more out of necessity. I feel like everyone suffers, right? That's the first noble truth. We're all suffering. And I just think that my suffering in my life, has led me to self-help books. And then that led me to unity. And then unity, I called it my rainbow bridge from being a Jehovah's Witness to where I am now. And that has really, it's just transformed my life, and it's helped me free my mind and to travel the longest journey of my life, 18 inches from my head to my heart. And and I feel more myself today than I ever have in my life. And it's just, we all come with some story, some baggage, and I won't get into my story, but I think it's just, suffice it to say, it's similar to a lot of people's, that we grow up in these religions that are kind of oppressive and limiting, and then I start reading people like Eckhart Tolle and Tara Brach and Anthony DeMello and Alan Watts and all these great minds, that are saying the same thing in different ways. And I start feeling liberated. I start feeling like I'm suffering less.
Right. Right.
So that's how I came to the practice, is I just felt like unity was a blend of, you know, Christianity and Eastern thought and philosophy. And I loved that marriage of the two. And then the more I was in unity, the more I could feel myself gravitating towards Eastern thought and philosophy. And then that has led me to Buddhism and a little bit of Hinduism and Buddhism. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you make this kind of journey, it becomes very difficult to label what it is. Like, I'm very, I don't know, proud's the right word, but that's what I'm going to use. I'm proud of who I become, and I'm proud of my practice because it's meant so much to me, and I feel so much better being the real version of myself.
Yes.
And I feel like because of that, because I can love this person more, I can love everybody else more. So, but it's
powerful.
Also odd when people want to talk about, so are you a Buddhist, or are you, what? And it's like, yeah, I suppose I am. I'm not ashamed of that by any stretch. I feel like when you're making that practice, it's like, hey, we don't really need to even label it. We've got the teachings. We've got the fat guy that's sitting here, that shows us the way to go. I was trying to, I've got one somewhere in I've got 10 or 12 here in my office. I was going to grab one, but that seemed a little dramatic. So, the point is that it is a philosophy or a spiritual practice where you're asked to, to take a seat on the cushion, just like Buddha did, and to understand that you are a Buddha as well. You have that nature. You just have forgotten. Or maybe you grew up in a culture where they never pointed that out to you.
Yes.
But it's available to you. And that's pretty exciting.
It's very exciting. It's like the good news, it's the great escape, It's like, how do you escape this madness, and whenever I go into meditation, I just feel like I transcend it all, and and it is accessible to us, to each and every one of us. And it's just, I'm just thrilled. And thank goodness I had, teachers along the way that were pointing the way. And I kept, and Jesus being my very first teacher.
Right.
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 So
Ray Wiley Hubbard is a Texas Red Dirt singer songwriter, and he once wrote a song. One of the lines was that I'm going to get this wrong now that I've said that, but Buddha was not a Christian, but Jesus would have made a pretty good Buddhist. So, and I love that saying, and I love also that you can reverse it. You really can't screw it up because it works both ways. But when you look at what those two as teachers were trying to put down, it wasn't so much worship me or do this, follow this list that I put together. It was more, here's the way. There's a path. This is what I'm going to show you. And it's probably, I'm not an expert on either of these practices, quite frankly. But, if we could have a discussion or a way to have Christianity without all of the baggage that the Western world has put on it, there's a lot of similarities. It's probably, there's probably a lot of intersections that we could talk about, but it's difficult here in the West because it's kind of forced on us, and everybody's got a different idea of what it ought to be. There's a lot of righteousness, a lot of you got to do this and this. And
yeah, you're so right. I feel like so many wonderful teachings all over the planet are housed in so many trappings, and the trappings of ritual, or the trappings of thou shalts and all of these, you know, right and wrong things that just make people feel bad, just
Right.
I think sometimes not only that, and I think religion can divide people, and I'm looking for the nuggets that help unify people.
Right.
So I just kind of have been on that path looking for unification. What's the overarching theme here? What's that thread that's through all paths, spiritual paths that are trying to help us. And that's really my focus. And, I came to it in hard times, like I'm sure a lot of people have,
Right.
um, just desperate for some answers, desperate for something that would help me feel better.
Right. Right. And I do think that that's pretty typical
Yeah.
when you get serious about a spiritual journey. You've probably tried some other things.
Mm-hmm.
You probably, whether you've explored other options in that realm, whatever that means, other religions,
Yep.
other practices.
Yep.
You may have turned to self-medication.
Oh yeah.
Just and you. Some of those things work for a little while. You mentioned self-help books. I always thought, because I went on that before I found practice, and what kind of saved me at least some time was that I didn't want to spend money on stuff that didn't work. I'm a bit of a Protestant skinflint when it comes right down to it with that kind of stuff. And so instead, it was like, well, meditation I can do myself.
Yes.
You're recommended, or it's recommended, don't bring anything, anything you bring, you're going to have to sort through and it'll just slow you down. So I found that to be so freeing. It was never meant to be a spiritual choice. But if you're just going to sit there with, and notice what comes up and then let it go and do that for any length of time, you start to realize that this is a spiritual endeavor, because that's what you're working with, right? You're not doing anything else. It's just you, your real self.
True.
Looking at what your ego's throwing up, or your brain, your mind is putting up there.
Yeah.
So.
And our teachers are there to help us.
Right. Right.
Like Robert and Victor, and, those that have walked the path a little longer than we have, or like, they just give us a pat on the back and say, good job, you're doing it. You're getting there. This is it. They just shine a light on the path,
Right. And I think that's one of the reasons why Home on the Range exists. We both belong to Temple Buddhist Center here in Kansas City, and it's a tremendous Sangha, and we could talk about it for hours, and sometimes we do. But for people that are listening that don't have a Sangha, they don't have a lot of time or experience with Buddhism, I think the things that just having a meditation practice, because it is a practice, because it's so practical, because it helps with really everything in your life, from your mental, physical, spiritual health. I find that so refreshing as well. And I just want to talk for a minute about your experience just with practice. What's that given you?
Refuge. It really has. It's given me a place to reset. If I feel, and it's given me something to compare my everyday self with, like you can get caught up in your everyday, Steph Watkins, or whoever you are. You can get caught up in your identity, your historical 3-dimensional carbon suit, you can get so caught up in that. And then meditation says, yeah, but you're also this.
Right.
So it's given me something to compare that, that earthly me with. And I like being able to see that. I need that. I need to be able to have that refuge to go to and sort of decompress, reset, reboot, if you will. Yeah. That kind of thing.
I think practice, that was well said, by the way, but I think practice gives you that space to reset, that refuge that you're looking for. And I also think that as you practice, at some point the narrative or the process changes, and you start to develop some courage and some curiosity about what it is that's going on inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that you've been carrying around, things that bother you, things that maybe you don't love about yourself, you start to realize that, hey, all that stuff is holding me back. It's not helping me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, the guilt, the judgment, the fear. And so that's a big step forward. But then, like I said, you start to develop that courage to say, well, let's get that out. You know, let's pull that out into the light and see what it looks like.
Yeah, the same kind of courage that you would get from like a friend.
Yeah.
Like a friend who's there with you, or a family member who's there with you, you know, who's helping you walk through a scary situation, you know? That's kind of how it feels for me. It feels like a friend, a place I can go into myself and say, you know, okay, you're afraid of this. Why are you afraid of this? And sort of my history with unity is also with A Course in Miracles, and A Course in Miracles teaches, you know, there's only two things on the planet, love or fear. And so I can spot that pretty quickly, you know?
Right.
So then I can take that into my meditation and say, okay, this, and this, I'm approaching from a place of fear.
Right.
And these things I'm approaching from a place of love. And it's like a chance to sort of put myself under the microscope.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a place where you can try to identify whatever that is in your blind spot, because everybody has.
Yeah.
As opposed to just ignoring them or denying that those things exist. You know, let's look at them. Let's have them. Let's have that space, and let's try to learn what they're trying to teach us.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's let them go if we can. And I think with meditation, and again, if someone is listening and they don't want to be a Buddhist, and they don't really see the big draw to a Sangha, and they don't live in Kansas City, or they don't want to visit online, whatever that might be, just having a practice allows you to deal with, like I said, some of those fears, but also to deal with these big, you know, love and compassion, these big words, wisdom, that are sometimes hard to understand when you're living moment to moment, being followed or being pulled around by wanting and needing and judging.
Yeah.
You know, you start to stop that, and you start to realize, hey, this is kind of what love is. This is what love is to me. This is what compassion is to me. This is what I can give right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you just meet yourself right where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is so key. And that's one of a couple reasons why this was so important to both of us. We don't have a long history. I think in May, maybe I started talking about, hey, maybe we should do a podcast.
Yeah.
And you approached me, and we talked. We may have said hello a few times, you know, before then, but so go ahead.
Yeah, I when you said something about podcast in the facilitators meeting, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So with the podcast, one of the things, you know, that we dwell on is, hey, people cause a lot of their own suffering because, for example, they're very caught up in social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so the podcast was kind of our answer, at least in my head, to, hey, technology is just a tool. We can use it as well for something a little more positive. And I think that's kind of how this came to be. But it also mirrors my experience with Sangha. In fact, it's even more concentrated and frankly more rewarding, because we got a team together very quickly. Got this off the ground very quickly. And this is not a victory lap. It's not mission accomplished. But it's just been so rewarding, because nobody came up to us and said, you know, right here in this book, it says you need to be the team that goes and does this. We just wanted to do it because we were authentic, we were motivated, and we wanted to share.
Right. And we see the importance of it.
Right.
You know, because there are a lot of people, like you said, you know, that may not want to, you know, come to the physical location of TBC, or maybe they don't live in Kansas City. But, you know, our Sangha members will share this with people that they know, and maybe it'll touch someone's heart. And We're just sharing the path and our experience with the path, and something will resonate with someone. And that's all I could hope for, is that, I hope that my life, in the way that I'm living it and the way that you and I are sharing it right now, will be a refuge to someone else, and
Right.
help someone else along the path. That's really all we're doing, is we're just being lighthouses for each other, or like Ram Dass says, we're walking each other home.
Right. Right. It's been so interesting to hear and see how people have kind of reacted. That's also been, I don't know if rewarding is the right word. I suppose that's it, but also just, I think it feels like people are starting to maybe see it the same way we did, in the fact that maybe technology could be
Hmm.
positive. Let's go back to your practice for just a minute. Is it sitting? Is it daily? What's it look like to you?
So I go sporadically. I'm an artist as well, and I think that the way artists are, is we go through phases, of where we feel really creative at times, and then we're not creative at all. So I think my meditation practice is like that too, where I sit every day, morning and night, and then there are some days when I don't sit at all, you know? So it's more like a tool in my toolbox, and I know that tool is there. I know that I can go to it, and I know that my practice is cumulative.
Right.
So I'm really grateful for that. And not only that, the formal sitting, um, is lovely, but I can also find myself doing it when I'm driving,
Right.
when I'm in conversation with someone. It's like, when you go to the gym and you're working out, you can feel your muscles, but then you can also feel your muscles when you're not in the gym too,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I can feel that meditation muscle, you know, as I've gotten older, as this has been part of my life for 30 years now. I can feel, not necessarily TBC. Okay, I'm going to make that clear. That I haven't been with TBC 30 years, but I've been using meditation as a practice, as a tool for myself for that long, and it's definitely cumulative. It You can get away from it for a few days or a month or a year, and you can come back to it, and it's like pick right up where you left off. And it's
Right.
so cool that way.
Yeah. So when we were putting this episode together,
Mhm.
we built this little framework, and then I don't know if you've noticed, but then we didn't follow it at all. So that was great. It's always good
Okay.
when that happens, because again, it's genuine and
Yeah.
there's enthusiasm, and it's like, oh, we didn't need this at all. But I was hoping that before we wrap this up, you could talk to us or share your analogy that you were telling me this morning about
Yeah.
golfing.
Okay. I'm not a golfer, just full disclosure. But um so Jen and I were on our way to TBC this morning, and um this morning I woke up just really feeling the nightingale in me, and this is going back to Robert's talk today. I didn't think of it this morning as the nightingale, but I was just like, wow, I could really feel the presence, that the Buddha within, this morning when I woke up, like between this sleep and awake state. And I've really been in the weeds lately with our move from Michigan. I've been kind of heartbroken, and, thinking about the loss of the things up in Michigan. And today I just felt it kind of lifting, and I just thought, this is a lot like golf. Like when your ball goes in the weeds, when it goes over in the rough, you can go over there in the rough and you can look around for that ball. Just give yourself 30 seconds, maybe a minute to look for that ball, but don't spend a whole lot of time over there looking for that ball. What a waste of time. Just grab a new ball, put it wherever you're supposed to put it in the fairway, and just keep the game going.
I think that's so important, and such a good analogy for our group, maybe for our audience, because we are not Buddhist scholars, but that does mirror some of the teachings I'm going to get this all wrong, but basically if you get hit with a rock, it's important that you don't pick up the rock and hit yourself with it again.
Yes.
And just like with the golf ball, the point is that things are going to happen, and sometimes maybe they don't happen the way you want them to.
Yeah.
And you just need to stay in that positive space if you can, utilize that equanimity. But there's an infinite supply of golf balls. So it's okay to just take the drop, play it back out here in the fairway, and just play.
Yes.
That's more important, since we're not really keeping score. That's more important than wasting time in the rough trying to find something, trying to fix something, trying to redo it, trying to relive it, trying to figure it out. None of those things matter. Those are just ways that will cause you to suffer more.
Wow, you fleshed that out perfectly. That's exactly it. Thank you.
Well, I'm as surprised as you are, Steph. So before we call this good, anything else you want to share just about your experience, or with, what it's like living as a Buddhist, or anything at all?
Well, I think my biggest surprise, like you, I don't necessarily call myself a Buddhist. I think I'm probably a Buddhist by default, because I already kind of live my life that way. I've been living my life this way. And so Buddhism, this Western Buddhism, which is a blend of, what does Victor always say? Western Buddhism is
Eastern philosophy.
Eastern philosophy,
Western psychology.
Yes, and Western psychology. And I've been doing both for a long time, for 30 years. And I feel like the biggest surprise for me, and the most wonderful thing about this practice and about, where I am now, is the Sangha.
Yeah.
This moment right here with you, and being able to share my most authentic self, and to be so real and raw, and we're not involved in small talk too much. We all just dive deep right away, and it's just so cool.
Right.
And I love that, meeting people that are ready to do that and willing to do that, and just that's so special to me. I'm really
I think
grateful.
That's another excellent reason. I always preach is the wrong word, but I always like to bring up, we're going to gain awareness, acceptance, and patience through our practice.
Yes.
I think also being authentic, being truly who you are and what you are, and starting to realize that, hey, I'm not fractured. I don't have breaks or mistakes. I'm just this. This is just who I am and what I am. And the more I get to know myself, the more happy and healthy I'll be. Mm-hmm. And it's not only good for me, it's good for everybody who's got to deal with me. Mm-hmm. So being authentic is what makes, for me, what makes these relationships, talking to you, having the Sangha, having this podcast so rewarding. So I want to thank you for co-hosting, Steph. You were tremendous.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you
sharing from the heart. We agreed going into this that the program would be real and it would be true, and hopefully without too many tears. And I think it was a mission accomplished for us. So that's good.
I didn't cry this time. Wow.
No, and neither did I. Although, there's still a minute to go. So going forward, I just want to let our listeners know that they can send comments to us at omontherangepodcast@gmail.com. That's our email. You can also leave comments on our Spotify page. If you are a member of the Discord channel for TBC, you can find us there. We would love to have any comments or questions. Steph, again, thank you for being a part of this.
I want
to thank everybody for listening, and I want to wish you all happy trails.
Thank you to Mr. Tim Behrens for producing this episode, and thank you to Brad Athey for providing the music. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey as we discuss meditation and Western Buddhism and celebrate the path to a happier and healthier life. Less suffering and more joy are available to all people. While we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we react. It just takes practice. Until next time, stay grounded and find peace in the simple, practical solutions. This is Om on the Range, wishing you happy trails.